Manchester United won, Burnley won at Old Trafford. More points dropped for Manchester United. A very disappointing result, a very disappointing performance. Where'd you start? Where'd you start, really? I've been saying for weeks, rip it all up and everyone needs to go. And, apparently that's being overly negative or oversimplifying the problem. For me, oversimplifying the problem is putting the blame on one thing, on one individual. Manchester United is completely broken as an institution, as a football club, as a business, as a football team, any kind of thing you want to talk or describe it as. It is fundamentally broken. What we saw today is we saw a largely pretty poor performance, really. We get a goal from a mistake from a Burnley player. Anthony scores a good finish, but we saw what we've seen again, the collapse. We see the collapse. That's it. We saw the collapse from Manchester United once more. An individual error from Casemiro, an individual error from Andre Onana. But just to say, well, that's the reason that Manchester United drew today, that's an oversimplification of the issue. Burnley had a lot of chances. Andre Onana in the first half had to make 2 big saves to stop it being 2-0. And all of it, it's all wrong. It's all broken. It's just completely fundamentally wrong. And that's why when you do beat Sheffield United at Old Trafford midweek, you don't get too carried away. You're happy you won, but it's Manchester United. You know what's going to come around the corner. And what we have seen is that actually, Sheffield United, they got relegated today. They're a championship side all season. Burnley, they are a championship side, but they're better than Sheffield United. They played them a couple of weeks ago. They beat them 4-1, so they're far better. And just a little bit of extra quality from a team, suddenly it's end-to-end all again. Suddenly it's end-to-end, and it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Game management, performance, tactics, individual errors, whatever you want to put the blame at it, whoever you want to blame, I don't think you can disagree with. It is fundamentally broken. All of it. Absolutely fundamentally broken. This is the full-time view where callers members can call in and have their say. If you do wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You can also click the join button. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content. If you are a member and you want to call in and have your say, go over to the United View YouTube page, go over to the community tab. There'll be a post there that's exclusive for members. There'll be a link and you can call in and you can have your say on what you saw. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get involved in the chat. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get their opinions in and talk about where they think the blame is or what happens next with Manchester United. But one thing is for certain, this can't carry on. This cannot continue. It cannot. And yeah, so be sure to get your thoughts in, your opinions in, not only if you're a caller, if you're in the chat as well. It's not good. Where should we go first? Let's go to show. Ramen. Show. We spoke on Wednesday, kind of talking about saying that we were like, well, obviously happy we won, but what's kind of around the corner. Is this what you expected to be around the corner from Manchester United at the moment?
Yeah, I always thought today would be a more difficult game with Sheffield United because Sheffield United had no intention to win the game on Wednesday. Today, like you said, it just needs a team with a little bit better quality, and it doesn't take a lot to draw a win against us. Coventry showed that last week, and Burnley and Coventry are pretty much similar level. So you're not surprised the result today is the least that Burnley deserved. They could have easily won the game. Let's be honest. Nana kept us in the game at times. Obviously, he then made a mistake, but it's just you can hear the tiredness in my voice. It's just game number 45 that we're saying this. That's all it is. Like I've said to you before, there should be a clear distinction between the winning performances and the losing performances. For us, it's just a big model. You could easily put the performance today alongside, the 3-0 win that we had away to get Everton at Goodison Park. The performance looked the same. You could get the 3-0 win at home to West Ham, put it alongside the 3-0 home loss to Bournemouth. It's the same performance. And look, I just have to say this, and it's probably not something people are going to like, but I just think when Ten Hag was hired 2 years ago, a lot of people had made their minds up at that point that Ten Hag was the guy. And don't get me wrong, I thought at that time Ten Hag was the best choice. I think other than Pochettino, I don't think there's other managers about, to be honest. But it seems like people are still stuck in that mindset from 2 years ago of well, I believed he was the guy then, so he must still be the guy now, regardless of what I'm judging him on based on the results. You know? So it's like hiring someone, not making him accountable for 2 years, and then still believing, well, he's just not accountable. And, I think, Marcel and KG are kind of two examples of that mindset where it's like, there's no way the manager can be at fault because we wanted Ten Hag 2 years ago. And it's just...
Is it that, or is it... I think that might be part of it for some people, or is another part of it of the people are sort of so out of love with the players that it's sort of like, no, I'm just not pivoting to, that it could be the manager's fault or whatever, because I'm so against the players. Do you think like that plays into it as well? Because I'm with you. I'm
100%.
I'm like all around. There's just no accountability for me. That's
no, I agree. That's a great point, Owen. That was going to be my second point. That because there's that. We're one of the fan bases that we love to use loads of lazy narratives. Today a lot of lazy ones will come out. We got injuries, so we couldn't beat Burnley, or I don't know, what is it? Oh, people will just blame Onana today, ignoring, like I said, just ignoring the game as a whole, how that game went, right? Because it's a different thing if we completely dominated Burnley today. We should have put loads of chances away, and then Onana did that. Then I would understand the point, right? But we've seen that this has been a familiar case where we've given up leads that we barely deserve to have in the first place. But you're right. A lot of it is to do with the fact that, again, there's the whole, well, why do you defend the players? Because they've thrown previous managers under the bus. That's the one that's peddled around the most, right? So therefore, we must blame the players wholeheartedly, and the manager can only be blamed once he has his full 11, which is just not realistic because no manager in the world works under those circumstances, probably aside from Pep Guardiola, who works in perfect circumstances, get anything he wants. Every other manager in the world has to work in the circumstances that they have. No other manager in the world has perfect circumstances, but they have a minimum threshold that they got to achieve. Like, I don't know, Owen, can we sit here and say Ten Hag is achieving the minimum threshold? We're talking about a season where he could get less points than David Moyes, and that season we were disgusted by. Let's just keep it real. Right.
Yeah. I think to your point with that, because this is when people will say, like you said, about the injuries or whatever. But it was the same when we played Sheffield United in the week. It was the same when we played Coventry last weekend, where injuries, for me anyway, injuries aside, that team that started today still should be good enough to beat what is essentially a championship side. What is next season will be a championship side. And I know that people will say, like, oh, so do you want Erik ten Hag to come on and not give away a penalty or anything like that? But I think Flex brought up a really good point on the match view when he said, well, it's not necessarily that. The individual errors they're culpable for that. But it's more the bigger picture of how many times in the game do we just give the ball away and then they're through? Eventually it's going to catch up to you, is it not? And it did. And it always will.
Yeah, no, it's not just today. That's the thing. If it's just today, you can hand it off as a one-off. We had an off day. Every week has been an off week for us. We've seen this against Burnley. Burnley away, our best player was Johnny Evans. Burnley today, were it not for the mistake by Onana, he would have been our best player today. So that's home and away against Burnley. Our keeper and our defender was man of the match. Brentford home and away, we didn't deserve to win. Forest away, we were terrible. Forest at home, we were 2 down, 1-3-2. Palace at home, we lost. These aren't good sides. These are sides that even within the circumstances that Erik ten Hag has had to work with, he should be showing us something against these teams to prove that, yes, I deserve better players because, look, I can do it against these crap teams. I can do it against these crap teams and do it in a dominating fashion that, yes, give me the players so that I can do it against the better teams. He hasn't shown that. That's the point I've been making for a long time now. But I just feel like there's this thing around Ten Hag because he's manager number 5. Manager number 5 has to be the one. There's this narrative that our whole history of Man United has been a succession of Sir Alex Ferguson's. It's just not the case. If Sir Alex Ferguson was the exception to the rule, not the rule. If he was the rule, he wouldn't be special because we'd have 10 of him. He's the exception. That's why he's unique. That's why he's the best manager we've ever seen, in my opinion. Right? But there's this thing where again, it's another lazy narrative we use. Or is it Owen? Don't you know back in the 80s, Sir Alex almost got sacked. Therefore, we have to keep Ten Hag because the two are exactly identical. It's just another thing we throw out there.
Or
Or
the Arteta one. The Arteta one.
oh,
Do you want to give it
you just read my mind, Owen. I was literally just about to say the Arteta one. Arteta finished 8th, Owen. He almost got sacked. So if we do the same thing and we don't sack Ten Hag, he'll become like Arteta. It's because it's the same thing, isn't it, Owen? It's the exact same thing. But again, it's a lazy narrative you can push out there without much thought. Again, today I can just say blame Onana because it doesn't require analysis of the whole game, the entire situation. I can blame McTominay last week. I can blame someone else the week before that. I can say break the cycle, trust the process, blame the structure, Glazers out. But it doesn't look at the whole situation. That's the problem. Like you said, the whole club is broken as a whole, but even within that, managers can fail. Oli failed. Moyes failed. Van Gaal failed. Jose failed. Let's not do revisionism like a lot of fans are doing now, where they say, well, the players threw the previous 4 managers under the bus. Maybe those managers weren't so bad after all. Because that's what people are saying now. No, they failed. And guess what, Owen? I'm about to say a mad thing, right? Let's say we sack Ten Hag this summer, which is very likely. The next manager, I mean, let's just say we hire Simone Inzaghi, right? Very, very, very highly rated manager at the moment, right? Just won Serie A.
Yeah.
Let's say I wanted him. If he comes to Man United in the summer, let's say he's my preferred choice. I'm not just going to put him on this pedestal and say he's the guy. He's done it. He won Serie A, so therefore he's not accountable at United. No, you got the job because you did that. Now prove yourself at United. You're back at ground zero. Earn your status. Earn your step on the pedestal. And then you can say you're the one, right? But guess what? Even when we get manager number 6, he might fail. That doesn't mean that it was the wrong decision at the time. It just means it didn't work out. It's just the era of the club that we're in at the moment. We're not in the Sir Alex era anymore. People got to leave that behind. It's done. It's over. It's been a decade since it's over. We're in an era at the moment where we're trying to figure out which manager can take us forward. The previous 4 haven't been able to do it. Ten Hag hasn't been able to do it. And now it's up to the next guy to do it. And maybe he might not. But that's what we have to find out. You got to try. What I hate is this fear-mongering when people go, well, if you want to sack Ten Hag, you want Potter. It's like, mate, I've not said that. When have I said I want Potter, I want Southgate? I'm saying I want to try. I want to try to be better. I don't want this, but I want to be better. Or at least I want to try. I'd rather try and fail than settle for this.
Yeah. No, I agree, Show. Definitely. Big up. Appreciate you calling in as always, Show. And look, there's going to be a lot of opinions, a lot of people talking, a lot of people feeling certain way. And that's what it's all about on the full-time view as well. A couple of super chats here. Michelle says, we are the dumbest team in the Premier League. VK says, VAR chose not to show the other angle where Aaron Wan-Bissaka clearly headed out the ball before Onana clashed into the Burnley player. Horrendous tactics by Ten Hag today. And Michelle says, will this guy ever stop talking? Well, look, call in. That's part of being a member, isn't it? You call in, you have your time. And if people agree or disagree, that's fine. There's always a line, of course. You know, you can disagree without being too harsh or anything like that. That's totally fine. For me, a lot of the things that Show was saying, I thought were pretty close to the mark. That's my opinion. I think, again, it's one of those ones where it's like I say, small picture, big picture. You want to talk about the game, small picture, then you would say, like, again, Casemiro, what he's doing for that, for the incident leads to the penalty. I don't know. If you're going to talk about missing chances, whatever, absolutely we miss chances. And from an Erik Ten Hag point of view, to people, what people say, oh, he put the ball in the back of the net. But there is a bigger picture at play here. And when you see the same things happen week after week after week, that's when you have to talk about this bigger picture. And I don't know how many times I've had to say it. Accountability on everyone, on players for missing chances, on managers for not getting results. Like, that's how football works. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Aminor. Aminor, your name today is Cassie is dead to me. How are you feeling?
Numb as always with these matches. But I just want to say I took 95% agreed with Shaw on the call. That was an excellent call from Shaw. He just really summarised what I was thinking as well. So in terms of how I'm feeling, Owen, I feel nonchalant. I don't really care now about the games coming up, which is sad. Really sad. I don't know if that's how you feel, Owen.
Well, I'd hoped, we said, didn't we, in these two games, Sheffield United and Burnley, it had to be 6 points because with the games that are coming up, I'd be flabbergasted, Aminor, if we won every single game between now and the end of the season. We're just not going to do that. But if we won these two games, then you sort of go, well, let's see what happens. We're still going for that sort of 6th spot in the Premier League, Europa League. But like already that 3-point gap we had over Newcastle, what's it down to 1 now? It took a game for it to happen. Like it's inevitable.
It is, and it's not because I'm being. I do care. I'm just fatigued by it because I don't know what sort of Manchester United team will turn up. I do know, but it's not stability. It's going to be an inconsistent team where players are not conditioned to play the way Eric Ten Hag wants to play, and Eric Ten Hag, his stubbornness in terms of his style of play, which is Plan A, and he's not willing to tweak it. These are two factors which ultimately will lead to really poor results. We're playing Burnley at home, and you said it there. Burnley are going to be a championship team next season. So let's assume Burnley are a championship team now. We are playing them at home. We know we need to qualify for Europe. You think the manager will set up the players in such a way, and the players will be motivated to, doesn't matter about the performance. It's just getting that result, and they're not even doing that. So my biggest concern is, not to repeat what Showa said, is that what is our baseline performance? What is a baseline performance which says, okay, this is what I see at United, not in terms of style of play, but what is the baseline? Can we hold the fort? Can we have, if we're not going to win, can we make sure we're not going to lose? I can't even see that in the game. There are moments in the game today with Burnley where I thought Burnley were a better team, and if they won that match, I would not have been complaining to you, oh, we were robbed with a victory, we were robbed from victory, because I would have said Burnley deserved it because they have a style of play. They are players who are put inferior one side. They're players who know what they're doing, and they are able to execute that plan. Our players, I'm not sure what they do during the week of training. I've probably said this many times, but if Eric Ten Hag insists on playing this 3-1-6, whatever formation, style of play, or shape, what it is, then I'm sure he's doing that on the training pitch. So if he's not doing that, it shows to me that they're not doing that in the training throughout the week, and then they just rock up on the day. He says, okay, this is the way I want you to play, and then just go for it. And these players just seem to think on the spot and not done any training. So for me, that is just a reflection of that. And so I'm just tired.
That's what, you know what, Aminos, it's just what I was about to say, isn't it? Isn't it tiring having what feels like the same conversation all the time, doesn't it? Having the same conversation, and we saw it on the match view of, Marcel's very much firmly, behind the manager. KG, I think, is behind the manager, but there is an acceptance that he needs to be doing better. Micah's definitely, going, but it's not good enough. You need to have accountability. I think Flex is further in that direction as well. But it does feel like, doesn't it? They're just like, it's tiring having the same conversation after every game because it's sort of both sides just of refusing to listen to each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And you know what you could do, Owen, to save yourself energy and save UV money? Just every time we do these shows, just record it, save it, let the next match play, and just repeat the same conversation we've had. That's probably the best way of doing it, because you probably think I'm joking. I swear we've had the same conversation for the last 4 or 5 months.
Well, probably since the beginning of the season. I mean, that's people's point, isn't it? Of going, you look at that first game of the season against Wolves. The only difference is today is the penalty got given because it didn't get given in the first game because obviously Onana came out. But essentially, it's the same game. Yeah, it's the same game where you go, oh, Wolves are really unlucky today. Burnley go, oh, they were quite unlucky today. Man United didn't take their chances, did they? Oh, I don't know what Onana was doing at the end with that. Oh, that's crazy. Look at the gaps in midfield. Like it's the same. So it's the same game. So you have the same conversations, don't you? It's wild. And how do you think you get out of that? Do you think you get out of that just by change, or like what do you do?
I just want to pick up what Show said about dynasties. And I know I totally understand what you're saying, that Sir Alex Ferguson was the exception, and we're not going to have managers like that again. And sometimes it's okay to say, with this manager, I had good intentions. I thought he was going to do this. It hasn't worked out, so we sack him. I sort of agree with that. And so then, following Show's logic, We've got to continue hiring a manager. He's got to prove his worth. If he doesn't prove his worth, sacking him until we get the next manager. And I think that's the way we're going to have to go. We keep sacking the manager. So I'm going to come to the players in a second, Owen. Sacking the manager until we get the right manager that we think actually this guy has done enough to deserve our love, our support, and the money from the club, so we can invest in the players that he wants. But that does mean it's going to be an expensive process. And once we get that manager, we should afford them the same time that, say, for example, Liverpool give to Klopp or City give to Guardiola. So that's on the manager. But players, just before I move on and the call on this, there's certain things that Ten Hag can't be blamed for. Ten Hag can't coach or tell Casemiro when you're in the box and you get a header like that, you head the ball back like that back to Onana. I know Onana gave the penalty and it's his mistake. I regret that. But he was put in that position by Casemiro. These are senior players, and I've said this before, Owen, and I feel angry now I'm saying this. Sorry, not with you. Our senior players are letting us down again. And they're not being held accountable. As much as we, as fan base, want to hold Erik Ten Hag to account, and rightly so, I'm fully behind that, we should be showing that same energy to the senior players. And I thought Bruno played all right, but every other senior player on that team, like Casemiro, etc., they need to be held account. And if those senior players can't be held account, they need to get out of this club. Maguire, I thought he played well, but apart from that, I'm just vexed.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up, Aminor. Appreciate calling in as always. What else have we got here? The G says, Big Owen, can you explain why it's so easy for you Flex and KG just to flip-flop the whole season? Cowards, mate! This has been the football since 3 months before the season ended. Get off the fence. See, this is what I don't get, because you could ask KG, he hasn't flip-flopped all season on this about the manager's future. And I've said for months, I don't think the manager's going to be there next season. And Flex has said, rip it up. Gosh, how many weeks ago at this point? So, I mean, unless you're saying, I don't know, what this is what is wild about this whole thing again, isn't it? Is you give your opinion. If you don't like the opinion, it's get off the fence. Then we start name calling, don't we? Because for all of his, like, I said this the other day, didn't I, about Marcel? I'll disagree with a lot of what we said, but then when we resound to name calling, what are we doing? We're not even talking about football anymore, are we? It's crazy. Skeptic with a super chat says Erik Ten Hag underestimated the Prem. United size, number 7 and number 1. And United Facts is the latest member of the UV Members Club. Welcome to you as well. Where are we at in terms of likes? We've got over 1,100 people watching with just over 105 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. As V says right there as well, this is kind of a good point too. People aren't allowed to change their minds anymore. Not nowadays, V. How dare you? If you say it once, that's it. Stick by it. Stick by it. You said it once that time. Never again. Never change your mind. Let's go to Chala Boy Comics. Chala Boy Comics.
How's it going, Owen? How you doing?
Well, how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling kind of low, but at the same time, I'm sort of calm, only because this is what we expect. And again, we've talked about this. I think Aminor put it beautifully. We can replay all our calls, and we'll be talking about the same thing. The only sort of context I'll put around this, or maybe a silver lining type of thing, is that at the end of the day, football are played between two teams of real human beings, right? And it is possible that you can have an off day, or it's possible that you cannot be at your best. But when you are in those situations, when you're not playing at your top level, albeit due to injuries, albeit probably because half of our team probably isn't fully fit, we don't have the resources on the bench, but ultimately United as a club should be beating Burnley today. And when Anthony got the goal, it was one of those cases where you're like, finally, the goal was coming. Like if we looked at Sheffield United when we were watching the game, even when we were 2-1 down, I believe, I was telling all my friends, I was like, yo, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to score, we're going to come back, and we're going to score multiple goals. I actually even called the 4-2, right? Today was a different story, whereby I felt, oh man, is the goal going to come? It didn't feel like today was going to be our day. So when you get that goal with Anthony, you're thinking, all right, see the game through, just be professional. We can talk about this wasn't our best game, but we got the result. And then we weren't able to do that due to, outrageous decision making, right? And again, I don't want to necessarily just put all the blame on Casemiro and Onana, because there were situations in which Burnley had opportunities to score, but I, it's just frustrating because I think in general Casemiro was having a decent game, and I wanted to sort of just make a small call out in terms of when Ten Hag is always talking about us stepping up into defense and us playing as a team, and we're always talking about the gaps in midfield. Today and yesterday were examples where you can see our center backs are consciously trying to take that instruction of being aggressive in the press. And I do appreciate about our team that we're making these sort of technical baby steps, that we're actually being brave to play. I think, well, from what I watched of the game, there were maybe two scenarios where our press was absolutely sort of decimated by the opposition, where we just were beaten, like it just looked wrong. Whereas in general, I think the transitions that we gave them outside of those two moments were because we were losing the ball. So in general, it wasn't good enough, but I felt we did enough to win. And it's a shame because I think Anthony sort of proved, I don't want to say proved his critics wrong, but he was bright. And I think the value of what he brings to our team is in our press and in our transition. He definitely has stamina, and he has that anticipation to challenge for the ball defensively. So I was actually happy for him that he got the goal, only to be undone by bad decision making. So I don't know. I'm feeling flat, but at the same time, this is not a performance where I look at the players and I'm like, you guys didn't try. You guys didn't give everything. You guys, I think they legitimately tried, and I think we were just off. We fell short. When we look at when you look back at the game, there were so many nearly chances. And again, I've talked about this a ton. We're a nearly team. We had so many situations where just a little bit more quality, and it's 2, it's 3, it's 4 goals. So yeah, I'm disappointed, but again, I don't want to overreact. It's just a situation where, this is football. It happens. This was a disappointing performance, and I think if our form overall in the season was good, these are sort of those games where you sort of just chalk it up to, hey, fair game. We tried our best, but it's the fact that we've already dug ourselves into such a bad situation that every single game is like a pressure cooker environment. So people are going to break under those constraints, which is unfortunate. But I'm just trying to be pragmatic about it and just say, well done to the boys in terms of the effort they gave. The quality just wasn't there today.
But you say we did enough to win, which I don't necessarily disagree with some of the chances we had and we didn't take. But don't you think Burnley could say the same as well? They could go, well, we did enough to win. We had chances. I mean, they scored. They got the penalty. Onana had to make 2 big saves in the first half. We could have been 2-0 down at half time. And I mean, if we're saying that, it's not necessarily an endeavour issue with Manchester United, then is it a case of it's a quality issue with the players, maybe with a combination of a tactical issue that this isn't working? Like with this level of players and also with this tactical setup, it's not working. So there has to be some element of accountability for that.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, those are 2 very good questions. Could Burnley say that they did enough to win the game? I would push back a little bit. No, they did get chances, 100%, and that's why we have keepers. That's why things happen. But when I was looking at sort of a few of the chances they got, they're a Premier League side. They're gonna get a couple chances.
Are they a Premier League side though? That's the question. Because
Right,
they're really not.
No, they are. They're in this competition, so they're a Premier League side. The point I'm making is just
for a few weeks.
Yes, but still, they are in the Premier League. The point I'm making is that these are professional football players, right? I know this is unpopular and people are going to give me slack, but they did have chances, and Onana stepped up. But except for the 2 situations that I'll have to go back and actually look at the game and pick out where it felt like a glaring structural and tactical issue. I think the other chances they got were situations where our rest defense, and I want to make a clarification because a lot of people talk about rest defense and they talk about it as if it's some kind of style of play or a way of defending. Rest defense, for those who aren't aware, is just the rest of the defense. It's literally just cover. So when you talk about rest defense, all you're looking at is a numerical advantage in the attack in your box, to deal with counters from the opposition, and then it's a matter of spacing and stepping in. So in those chances where they got, our rest defense was fine, and we had enough bodies, in the box to create a situation where they were going to have to shoot and Onana has to step. So Burnley did well. I'm not trying to take any credit away from them. It's just you can live with those chances. The reason why I'm so frustrated about the way we played is because we were let down by just poor quality. We didn't even force the keepers to make those saves. There was one chance at 1-1 where Bruno had, I think it was Garnacho in like complete space, and he just had to play a through ball between acres of space, and he was let down by the execution. He was frustrated with himself, and I think overall he had a decent game. He was frustrated with himself. These are the sort of quality issues that you're sort of missing in those final moments that are frustrating, where you're like a team of this quality should be making that chance. Now, to answer your second question about the manager, accountability, tactical stuff, yeah, I think there were some things maybe he got wrong today, because like I said, there were some setup issues where you're like, whoa, this was just too easy. But in general, the overall flow of the game was fine. The main thing about Ten Hag that I just want to hopefully get across is that, and maybe this is a question for you, Owen, what are good things that you think that this manager has brought to this club in terms of, how we play, or just the culture or the general environment from what we got when he was taking over Ole and Ragnick? I'm just curious, what do we think that he has brought to this club?
Well, I think it's interesting you mentioned culture, because last season I think that would have been a much easier answer for you, because obviously pre-Eric Ten Hag, the culture was one of, it felt like players not dedicated enough, not running, not trying, didn't care about the badge on the shirt, etc., etc., etc. Player fallouts, leaks, stuff in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to an extent, kind of, it felt like that went away last season. We kind of fell back in love with the team again. But then this season, it's back to where it was. It feels like it is regression. It feels like it is regression. It feels like that what style of play was there last season has somewhat evaporated. We have no control over games anymore. Whereas last season, you could say we did, when we had a midfield of Eriksen and Casemiro that had a better control over the game. Now we don't. It's end-to-end basketball stuff. And the culture feels like it was, again, 2 years ago. Like that whole thing of when we lost against Brentford and then Ten Hag ran with the players, and we were like, see, that's what we need, and he doesn't take no shit and blah, blah, blah. Well, it feels like now there is something in the media every other day. It does feel like there's player fallouts. It does feel like there's unrest. It does feel like there's players not trying and walking around. So I don't know. In terms of the culture, I don't know what he's brought to the culture anymore.
No, that's a fair point. Those are 100% fair points. But I think even in that answer, it just shows it sort of gives you context as to what Erik Ten Hag is trying to contend with. He tried his best to bring a level of professionalism into the team. He's tried his best to put a situation where we're running for the team. And when you look at that pitch, they are people that are fighting for that team, right? I won't bring up the other situation, but there's some people that obviously not, right? So to me, it shows that that is like above Ten Hag in a way, and he's trying his best. And the reason why I brought up the good things he's done, at least for me, when I was at Old Trafford last season and we played Liverpool when everyone thought we were going to lose, I haven't seen Old Trafford rocking like that in a very, very long time. And then we saw it again in the FA Cup. Old Trafford's rocking. The good thing that I love about Ten Hag is that he has this ability to inspire belief from the team, even when the chips are against us, right? And I think that goes a long way in terms of the process, why I give him a little bit more time, because he has won games. He's shown the ability to win games. 100%, you're right, there has been a regression this season. And I think there are two reasons for that, or two reasons that could fall on the manager for that. The first reason is he's decided to take the next step. Ole has alluded to it on the overlap, playing front foot football, which comes with inherently more risk. And he said, it seems to me where he said, look, the easy way is to go back to a very compact counter-attacking style that I don't want to necessarily do. And he's trying, and we're just sort of trying to put the pieces together. It's very difficult to play in such a dynamic way when you're not attuned, but he's forcing the players to take that accountability, and we're going to see mistakes, which is why I'm okay with this in this very moment. Now, if after a transfer window, and again, you can talk about whether you should trust someone with the transfer window stuff, but if we keep seeing these problems when we have upscaled our team, that's when I think a fair conversation on Ten Hag has to come in. But in terms of just the overall, fight that he's given us, the belief he's given us, I think he's doing a really good job. And I 100% love what he's doing with Garnacho, what he's doing with Maino, what he's doing with the tools he has. And I think that we just need to have a level of calm and just allow him to work. Just give him an opportunity to work so that we can then come back and then evaluate him in a more robust way. But for now, I think he's done enough to give us ask us to give him a little bit more time. He's won us a trophy. He's got us back to back-to-back finals. He's trying his best, and I just don't want us to derail a situation with too much negativity when you can see this manager is basically managing with one hand tied behind his back.
I just finally though,
Yeah.
if I try my best at a job, but I'm not succeeding in it, just because I'm trying, does that mean I should not be under performance review?
No, you're 100% right. There should be performance review, but I think the context of what we're missing, or the main context about this, is that he didn't come into a stable club. This is literally a cultural rot that has happened since post-Fergie, where people have just the players are just more powerful than there's no accountability. There hasn't been, right? And you're right. Accountability starts and stops with the manager in football. If he doesn't get results, you can pick reasons why. Maybe he's picked Rashford, maybe he's insistent on style, whatever you want to say. 100% accountability, matters. But there is a level whereby this is not a new scenario that he's walked into. We've seen these problems with every single kind of manager. So because of that, I want to give him a little bit more grace. Evaluate him thoroughly and harshly once he has a decent squad that can do this consistently. That's my only thing. I'm not saying I'm 1,000,000% Ten Hag in for the rest of my life. Like, he still has to prove to us day in, day out. But for me, I just want to approach the situation with a little bit more grace and just, what? You're trying. I can see the vision. I can see when we play good football, when we played in spells against Copenhagen, I think Crystal Palace, Sheffield. There are different games you can point to, Liverpool, where you're like, actually, I can see what he's trying to do. It's just unfortunate that it's just not working at this point. I hope for his sake that he's able to string a run of results together, and then in the FA Cup we win it. And even if we sack him at that point, he can hold his head held high. But I think that we just need to realize the size of a job Man United is, and every manager who's come in post Ferguson has struggled. And I don't think it's because managers are crap. That's how I'll leave it.
Interesting stuff. Big up Chala Boy Comics. Appreciate you as always. Where are we at in terms of super chat? Skeptic says Marcel and comics attorney speaking for Ten Hag. How many likes are we currently at the moment? We're currently at. I'd love to see a call where we get Marcel and Chala Boy Comics on the same. I think there would be a lot of upregulates used. Oh my god, Marcel fucking! I don't know how many times he said upregulate during the match stream. My god. Yeah, so we've got nearly 900 people watching. Let's get to 200 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well whilst you're at it. Bottom right-hand corner, a reminder, fan views will be on their way shortly from UVHQ, from Flex, KG, Micah. I'm assuming there is going to be another KG and Flex back and forth. So, yes, that will be interesting. Skips it configuration. That's the other one. Upregulate configuration. Those are the ones from Marcel. The Marcel-isms. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Pav. Pav, what do you make of what you saw today?
Do you understand why I spoke the way I did after Sheffield? And I said, I'm not getting happy over this because of stuff like this.
Yes and no. Yes and no. The reason I say yes and no is because on Wednesday, and this was kind of my feeling on it, and obviously, look, I'm not one to dictate and feel or celebrate. But for me, as a fan, I just looked at it as my team won. I was happy we won. I wouldn't get over the top and be like, we're going to
I
win
was
the league.
I was
Anything
I was
like that.
happy that we won the game, because
Yeah.
why would I want my team to lose
Yeah.
or draw? But
Exactly. But it
the
was never
way
going
the
to change your
season-
mind on Ten Hag or anything like
No,
that.
no,
But,
no, no.
Not
It's
that
just
it
the
should.
fact-
Not that it should.
the fact some people are going over the top. Like I said, they'll blame the players if we lose, but they'll congratulate the manager way over the top if we win. But today, we should have won that game. Onana, my man might need another sport. Maybe Dana White can get a hold of him, or Triple H. Don't know. It looks like he's got a few wrestling moves there. But I said, when everyone was like turning a corner with Onana, I said, a crackhead cannot be turned. Like, that man's a crackhead. He'll make mistakes. And the thing is, we're going to be stuck with him. We're going to have to live with it. And when it's not the last time this is going to happen. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen next season. So I'm not going to be surprised. But he did actually make some good saves in the game. He kept us in the game for a fair bit.
Yeah.
So big up to that. But you're still a crackhead. And the rest of the game, like, look, the Casemiro stuff, yeah. We've said it many times with players. We bring top quality players into this club, and they all die. They all die because they're surrounded with crap, and it turns them into crap. And for Casemiro's sake, I hope he leaves in the summer. Just go play out your last years elsewhere, because you don't deserve a lot of the criticism you're getting. Like, you're at a point at that age where, look, your legs aren't there anymore either. I don't want him to go out in a way, because the stuff that he's won, he shouldn't really be getting the criticism and the let's use the word that Rashford likes use, and abuse. But yeah, other than that, I wasn't surprised. Like Burnley, I had if they had better finishers, that game could have been a much different. So we're lucky that they've got crap players in their squad who can't finish. We should have scored a couple of goals. Like, I think that handball that everyone's crying about at the minute, I don't think that was a handball because it was pretty close. But I feel like the Garnacho tackle where he got tripped over, that should have been a penalty in my opinion. I know the people say it's soft, but look, contact's a contact. We had chances in that game. Bruno as well. He did all right, and then he let me down again. Some of them passes towards the end, but I'm not surprised. I've said this before. I just need these players to turn up for one game for this remainder of the season, and that's that FA Cup final. I could not care less about this league anymore. Newcastle won today. They're literally on our back right now, 1 point behind. And you said we still got to play them, right?
Still got to play Newcastle, obviously Arsenal, Brighton as well. We got some tough games coming up.
I swear, if we get this Conference League, it's going to be the biggest embarrassment in our club's history going into that competition. I don't care what anyone says. Being in the Conference League is one of the biggest embarrassments. Like we literally butchered for Tottenham being in it and stuff like that. So for us to go into it, I won't even bother watching it. I do not care. I will not watch that. And the players should be ashamed as well for taking us down to that level. And so should the manager as well. But I won't say too much on the manager, because after I spoke about him a couple of days ago, I went back and had a look at the comments. And some people are calling you anti-Ten Hag, anti-United. People are telling me that I waffle. I don't know what I'm talking about. When I told people after the Wolves game, this guy needs to change his tactics. What has he done in pre-season? And if he doesn't change it, his job's going to be on the line. It's carried on the whole season. Nothing's changed. And this is why I fail to listen to anyone who comes on it still defending the guy. Like, people have got their own opinion. That's all right. I'm not going to sit here like other people do and abuse people who want him out. I won't abuse you for wanting to keep him in, but the fact is, his job is to get the best out of these players. And we know these players like to let the fans down, the managers down, but your job was to turn it around, and you failed to do that. And I was one of the guys who wanted you here, because I believe that this guy could have gone toe-to-toe with Klopp and Pep, and he's failed to do that. And I'm not giving him any more players. I don't want this guy to get any more players. You signed the players that you wanted, and I'm glad that we're getting a structure now, because this way we can never blame the manager, whoever comes in next, because it will be the people who are in charge who are bringing in the players. They're the one who are going to dictate the play. So from now on, we could go to them and say, well, you've brought in this player, he's not performing, this is on you. So at least that will come into play. And whoever the new manager is going to be, it might be the fact that he'll just take these players or whoever comes in, whatever players we sign, to a level, to a certain level, and then we might have to change managers again. But it's not going to be a quick fix. I already said, like, when Ratcliffe was bringing in his team, I said it's going to be at least like maybe 3 years before we see something different. We just need to like steady the ship. But this manager can't be here. Like you've let down the fans far too many times. I've already seen that a lot of the people, like match going fans, are against him. A lot of them have had enough. But I think it's best that we just part ways in the summer with this guy.
Yeah,
but
well,
other
there were
than that,
boos today, weren't there, for the Cobby and Hoyland sub, wasn't it? There were boos.
yeah, but
for
it's
that
not the
stuff
first
today.
time. A lot of the fans have been booing him throughout the season whenever he's taken off certain players. But the problem is, I don't want to use this excuse because I blame other people for like using the same excuse. But obviously, we've got injuries. Like you don't want to like have some of your better quality players at the minute, like Cobby and Rasmus, going down with injuries when we've got like the FA Cup final coming on. So them getting a rest in between, I don't mind it. But like I said, the league doesn't really matter because we're in a position where wherever we finish, it's an embarrassment anyway. I just need a certain amount of these players to stay fit for that FA Cup final, and I don't know who's close to coming back from injury, but we need to get some of these players back because as a fan base, we all just need to turn up for that one game. I don't care about anything else. Just turn up for that one game, and just try and win that cup. Don't go out. Don't get embarrassed like last season. What happened last season in that FA Cup final? But other than that, look, most of us already know what's going to happen in the summer. Like, there's obviously people sitting there doing the Jon Snow thing when he's going out to the battle on his ones, and you know, he
pulls the sword out.
Last stand. Yeah, exactly. They're all on their last stand, but I think a lot of us deep down know that this guy's gone. And like my picture there, my profile, when this guy gets sacked, I want everyone to just shoot the people that want this guy out to put this profile picture up. Man come in and saying he wanted to end certain managers' errors. Yeah, you'll go out saying my job has come to an end. There you go. You ain't ending no errors, mate. You've ended your own.
There you go, Pav. There you go. Putting a button on it right there. Let's see what some people are saying in the chat, and then we'll wrap things up. What are people saying here? Jim White says, forget about the FA Cup final. Ray says, I reckon next manager is going to last a year. Tammy says, Ten Hag in. Amadou says, the only tactics we can do with these players is sit back and counter. You all hated Ollie Fritz. Why did we sack him then? EZ said Hoyland was shite, but taking off Cobby instead of Ericsson was stupid. What else are people saying here at the moment as well? Astro says the only manager to have to deal with a semi-takeover, and it's like that wouldn't affect anything. They lack the lack of context for Ten Hag is crazy in the fan base, all too butthurt on the banter. I think it is like with I mentioned this earlier on. I think Show did a really good call when he was sort of saying, I do think there are a lot of the sort of narratives that are put out there regarding Erik Ten Hag, I do think are quite lazy. I just think in general, just the argument of it's just these players are just rubbish. These players are just completely terrible. And I'm not saying that they're not, by the way, but I'm not saying that's the only reason for Manchester United failing. It's everything. Manchester United needs a complete total reset. And I know people can go, but we did that a couple of years ago. Well, circumstances have changed. Circumstances have changed since then. There are new people in charge of the football operations. There are going to be a new chief executive. There's going to be a new sporting director. There's already a new technical director. And sometimes if you're rebuilding a house, but then all of the circumstances change, and sometimes, you got to knock it down and start again. Sometimes that's what happens, And I think that with Ten Hag, it does get to a stage, even if you sympathize for him. And there is an element of sympathy for him, absolutely. But you still have to get results against certainly the poorest sides in the league. And Burnley, they're a championship side. They will be a championship side next season. I don't suspect the team that we saw today will be that much different in the championships either, really, because they're largely a championship team. I think they've kind of softened the blow because they knew they were gonna go back down. So if you watch, there's a documentary on Burnley. It's a really good documentary, actually. It's when their new owners came in and they got relegated in their season in the championship. And they did a lot of turnover while they were in the Championship. A lot of new players came in. And I think that this summer they've already kind of thought, well, actually, we've got to be a bit careful if we go back down. So we drew to a Championship side today, and it's not surprising. Players aren't good enough, tactics aren't good enough. Manchester United this season, this is not good enough. All of it. Medical department's rubbish. Wherever you want to go, what about whatever you say, whatever people go, what about this or what about that? My answer is got to be rubbish. So when people go, what about, I don't know, pick a player. If it's not Kobe Mainoo, then I'll be like, oh, rubbish. If it's, what about the Glazers? Of course, they're rubbish. They should go. What about the manager? Well, the tactics are shit. What about Casemiro today? Made a mistake. What about Andre Onana? Made some good saves, but made an error. Like, it's just everyone. It's complete everyone. Won't get done overnight, but I mentioned it after the commentary game. Everyone's cards, apart from a select few, are marked. Might be this summer, might be next summer, might be the summer after that, but their cards are marked. Ray Carl Brown with the super chat says, "We have been waiting for this reset for 9 years. We keep the broken thing going for another manager." Appreciate the support there. And I think I'm caught up with the super chats. Yeah, indeed I am. Big up to everyone. Appreciate everyone calling in as well. As I said, fan views should be on their way out if they're not out already. And yes, it's going to be more discussion, more debate coming up in the future. Appreciate everyone that's called in. What's on tap for the remainder of the weekend or tomorrow? There'll be a Flex's view, and then any other news, of course, we'll bring it to you. And then Monday, we'll be back with the morning show, 9 a.m. And there'll be a full view also at 6 p.m. on Monday. So be sure to join us then. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Peace.